Another whole bunch of ripple makers. They're all backstage. I'm very excited. The tension is running. The ripples are creating. The waves are about to be made. And I cannot wait to get these global ripple makers onto the stage. But before we do, I want to say a big warm welcome to those of you who are new to One Drop Movement and the RippleFEST way of doing things. We're going to be creating many ripples over the next 3 days. And ultimately, RippleFEST was born because we wanted to help you make even greater ripples of impact in the world. And it's my mission, for those of you that don't know me, my mission over the next now 9 years by 2030 is to positively impact on the lives of over 22 million people. I cannot do that on my own. I don't want to do that on my own. My intention is to support you to make an even greater ripple of impact. If I can support 22,000 change makers to make a ripple in the life of at least 1,000 people each, then we'll reach out 22 million lives. Imagine that. Imagine the possibilities when we bring everybody together and we don't just try and do it on our own. And of course, that's the one drop philosophy. Individually, we're one drop. Together, we are the ocean. So it brings me great pleasure to introduce you to 9 more ripple makers who are gracing the stage over the next 3 days. So we're live for an hour of power now. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, for another hour of power with a grand finale of our 3rd and final panel of speakers on Wednesday at the same time, same place. Now, what's different about RippleFest is this is not for you to just sit back and easy listening and just, you know, letting it wash over you. That's all very nice, but we're not going to create ripples if all you're doing is fucking thinking about it. We've got to take action if you want to get traction, right? So this next 3 days, just for 1 hour, I want you to commit to yourself, commit to your future, commit to being bigger than your business ever could be. Because when we grow ourselves, then our business is always growing. When we stop growing ourselves, our business stops growing. It will never grow bigger than you and your capacity to think about how you are making your ripples of impact in the world, how you're owning your identity, how you're owning your value, how you're owning the gift and the purpose for which you were born, and then how you're owning your lane, how you're creating that one true brand around one message, one ripple of impact, one brand, one movement, whatever it is that you're building, and whatever the reason is for you being here. I want you to open your mind and expand over these next 3 days. So each and every speaker that you're going to hear from over this next 3 days, they are not only going to be sharing some of their story, they're also going to be running a little activity with you. Every single one of them is going to be running an activity with you, giving you something that is going to help you expand your ripple of impact and accelerate how many lives you can reach in a faster period of time. So be prepared to make lots of notes in the chat. Don't just sit there passively. Get involved and receive the support. Because how many of you give so effortlessly, but when you receive it, it doesn't feel so easy to receive as it does to give? How many of you, by a show of hands, either backstage, you've got some people that are joining us backstage, you can raise your hand. I can see you, and those of you that are joining in from the Facebook community, our Ripple Makers Mastermind members are able to come backstage with us. If you're joining us from the One Drop Movement community, hello, I can see hands going up backstage. If you're joining us in the One Drop community in the Facebook group, just give us a yes. I find it easier to give than I do to receive, so I know what you're actually answering that to. Now, we are going to go deeper to really get you even more invested in the change that you're making in the world, the way that you're going to step up as an influencer, the way you're going to make even more ripples of impact, knowing that you are not just a ripple maker, but you are also a brand builder. And of course, when you're building a business, it's crucial you have a brand. But even if you don't have a business, even if you're tuning in tonight to support one of our speakers, you don't have a business and you've got no interest in running a business, you're still a ripple maker. And I know that you're a ripple maker because you wouldn't be here if you weren't helping the people on stage to make some ripples. So each and every one of you that are tuning in tonight, you are a ripple maker and you are a brand. How you show up is your brand. Without even having a business, how you show up, how you manage your energy, how you are kind to others and generous, your values, your personal core values, make your brand as a loyal person that shows up on time or not. If you don't show up on time, that's your brand as well. So just question yourself, just in this moment, just come into yourself and think to yourself, what is my brand right now? How am I showing up right now? Could I be more visible? Could I be building my credibility in a bigger way? Could I be demonstrating in a more visible way that what I sell works? Because there's so many people in the world, and maybe you're included in those. And, you know, this is a very safe place to be able to own it. You know, this is all about owning your identity today. So you're in a safe place to be able to own that gap that you currently have. So here's where I am, here's where I want to be. So set your intention tonight that you're going to move towards what it is that you want. Instead of moving away from what you want, let's move towards what you want. So over the next couple of days, we're going to dive into some topics in a really deep way. I'm going to introduce you to our first 3 ripple makers shortly, who are gracing the stage with us tonight. But if you're ready to rise higher and be more visible, raise your credibility, and start growing your ripple of impact in a bigger way, give me a hashtag ready to ripple in the comments below. Remember, guys and girls that are backstage on Zoom, please do not comment in the chat on Zoom. Make sure that you are logged into the One Drop Movement Facebook group and that you're chatting in there. If you're watching this from somewhere else, still log into the One Drop Facebook group and put your comments below so that you're going through this, even if you're not watching it live, even if you're watching the replay. I really would love for you to go through this as if it were live, because you're creating a business vision, a mission, a purpose. If you're here to build a business, or maybe if you're not building a business, you want to just get more on purpose with the mission for your life and the purpose for your life, and setting a vision around that. And I really encourage you to have those 2 visions working for you, whether you have a business or not. Always have that vision for your life, because I didn't do that. And because I focused my first 5 businesses that I built between 2002 and 2013, because my vision, my mission, everything was about the business. It was always about work. I didn't have a personal vision for myself, and that ultimately led me to burning out. I don't want anybody else to burn out, certainly not within this community. So make sure that you do have a vision for your life outside of your work or outside of your business, so that we can all move towards that reason, that purpose for which we were born. And we're going to be talking a lot about purpose over the next 3 days, because owning your purpose really is owning that identity. And that's what we're going to start off with. So just out of curiosity, before I bring our first amazing ripple maker onto the stage, I'm curious, how many of you already have a business? Give me a hashtag 1 if you already have a business and you're joining in tonight. You're going to be using all the great stuff, all the juicy stuff that we're going to talk to you about over the next few days to grow a business that you already have. Give us a hashtag 1 if you have a business already. Now, if you are thinking of starting a business, give us a hashtag 2. If you're thinking of starting a business and you're here to, or you're just getting started with building that business, give me a hashtag 2 in the comments so that we can see where are you on your journey. And if you think I should just mind my own business, then give me a hashtag 3. I think that's easy enough to do. Or give me a little wink or something. Guys, whether you are tuning in live or watching, as I said, just make sure you comment in the comments below the live stream or the video as you watch the replay, and we'll look forward to responding to them. Now, today we're going to go deep with the amazing grief specialist Ghulam Fernandes, who's going to be walking you through how to turn your pain into purpose. Ghulam has an amazing story. I can't wait to get her up on stage. She's our first speaker this evening. She is going to be followed by the Find, Trust and Choose guy, Stewart Alexander. Stewart is going to bring you his interview for life formula, which is going to teach you how to get booked on any podcast. How many of you would love to be booked on lots of podcasts? Give me a hashtag podcast in the comments now. If you'd love to be booked on more podcasts, you'd love to get your voice out there in a bigger way and have people fighting over you to have you on their show. Well, Stuart's going to be walking us through his formula, but also give us a hashtag drum roll, hashtag drum roll. Stuart is also going to be giving away a multimedia package worth over $900 to one lucky attendee. So make sure you are freaking listening, because I'm sure he's going to sneak it in somewhere and you're going to have to be listening. And whoever answers, whatever he's going to do, I don't know what he's going to do or how he's going to do it, but however he does it, be listening, active listening, because you might be in with a chance to win over $900 worth of media services from Stewart. We're going to finish off with our amazing Debbie Church on how to run profitable events that grow your brand and build your business. So these incredible change makers, they have said yes to their vision. They said yes to themselves. They said yes to being here on the global stage, and I cannot wait to introduce you to them. One more thing before I do, I'd love for you to take your selfie right now. Get a selfie. I'm going to get all of our fabulous Ripple makers backstage right now. I'm going to take a selfie. Everybody take a selfie of you at home watching all of your fabulous Ripple makers. There you go. Look, you can see the boat in the background. Guys and girls, take that, get it out onto social media, and please use the hashtag RippleFest. You can also use the hashtag #OneDropMovement. If you use both of them, you'll get extra points. Hashtag RippleFest and hashtag #OneDropMovement. Please do join in the fun. Take a picture of yourself tuning in for this amazing fest and share it. And please do share the great work that we're doing here at One Drop Movement, because without you, we don't make our Ripple. So if you want to invite other people to come and join the group, all you need to do is go to the top of the group and it will say facebook.com/groups/One Drop Movement Global. You just need to copy that link and send that out with your picture, and maybe we'll get some more people that we can make a difference to over these next 3 days. So my darlings, let's get our amazing first Ripple maker onto the stage this evening. We have the grief specialist, Ghulam Fernandes. Now, Ghulam is somebody that I met through another network. I've never seen somebody gel with others in a room so quickly. She's quiet, she's peaceful, she's graceful, but boy, has she got a big message for this amazing, amazing woman who you're about to meet on the stage. So guys and girls, give us a drum roll, give us a Ghulam, 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 get her up onto the stage, Ghulam Fernandes. Ghulam, welcome to RippleFest.
Thank you so much. What a build up. Thank you.
I see you're wearing blue. You're in the RippleFest colors today.
Ah, right. Yeah, these are my favorite colors. So
I'm not surprised. Now, Ghulam, you have a very, very strong purpose for the reason why you're doing what you're doing. So please do start by sharing who you are, what you do, and why you love doing it so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sammy. So I'm a grief specialist, and I train people who are struggling with grief, how to regain their sense of peace, their passion for life, their productivity, and their purpose. And those are all things that can get knocked once you're struggling with grief. I know for myself, that's what happened. People often ask me, Ghulam, how did you get into this work? It's an odd way to spend your life, listening to people's grief stories and helping them. So when I was 13, my mum died, and I didn't have any tools or knowledge or proper support. And in fact, people were very well-meaning, but they would often say quite unhelpful things. And I can't remember who it was, but I remember somebody bending forward and saying, "You mustn't cry." I mean, what a thing to say to somebody who's just lost their mum. You mustn't cry. You've got to be strong for your brothers and sisters. So I just took that to be how I had to be. And then even though the person wasn't around, I'd be saying, I mustn't cry. I've got to be strong for my brothers and sisters. So unhelpful advice from people who are very well-meaning kept me stuck in my grief for years, because I spent all my time saying, I'm fine. It's going to be fine. I'm fine. And inside, I was not fine. And every time somebody asked me, or the topic of my mum came up, I'd start feeling emotional. And they'd say, when did your mum die? And I'd say, oh, well, like 10 years ago. And they'd be like, and you're still sort of emotional about it? And it's because I hadn't really processed the grief. I'd been distracting myself by keeping busy, or hoping that in time everything would fix itself, but it didn't. And then when I was around 30, my older brother died very suddenly from a massive heart attack. And he was only a year and a half older than me. So I realized then that grief is not only negative, it's cumulative. So all that unresolved grief then came up, and I had this double dose, and it really just shattered my ideas about life. I used to think that death was something that happened to old people and to other people. And here it was, that it was not happening to old people. My brother was only a year and a half older than myself. And it really made me suddenly realize my own mortality. And I just was not coping very well at work. I was struggling to focus. I was struggling to remember things. But every time somebody said, "How are you?" I'd say, "I'm fine," because I thought I've got to be strong. I've got to keep going. But really, people could see I was not doing very well. And a very kind colleague actually took me aside and said, "Ghulam, I think you need to maybe take some time out." And I realized, actually, what's happened is huge. And I need to not just take a few days off, but actually take as long as I need to make sense. So I gave up my job, and then I went on a whole quest to try and come to terms with my grief. And then a year later, my younger sister had a delayed grief reaction, and she took her own life. And then a year later, my father, devastated by these losses, he became sick and died. And then I went on to have 3 miscarriages. So grief for me was like a huge thing. And it really took me on a journey. And having come through that journey, I really don't want people to get stuck and be struggling for years when there is no need. There's really great knowledge and tools and processes that can really equip you to handle grief resourcefully so that you can create a life that's well lived. It's hard to create a life that's well lived when you're carrying a lot of unresolved grief. Sometimes people stuff it down. They've got different strategies. One client says she tends to put it in, she'd put all her painful feelings in a box, put it on a high shelf, and then she tried to live life as if it didn't exist. So people find all sorts of ways of coping. I mean, for me, part of my coping strategy was to turn to comfort eating. One of my brothers, he turned to drink. People turn to different things, and you're coping and you're surviving, but you're not thriving. So if you want to be a ripple maker, I really encourage you to take a time to assess where you are, because without healing your own heart, it's really hard to be out there healing everybody else.
Well, I told you that she's got a great story, right? And that's just a whistle stop. My goodness, how much more there is to that story. That's just skimming the surface. And Ghulam, you've been through so much. How did you turn that pain into your purpose? Because it would have been very easy for you to go down the same direction that other members of your family did, but you didn't. How did you turn that pain into purpose? And now you've turned it into a business. It's a movement that you're now building to move people gracefully to deal with that grief and to not hold it in their body. How have you turned your pain into purpose, and how would you recommend our lovely ripple makers here do the same?
Well, when I think about the journey that I've been on, and it was very long and arduous, I tried all sorts of different things. Some were more helpful than others. But I realized if I was to kind of give you a whistle stop overview of the journey, it's like I found myself in a wasteland. If you imagine like the garden as representing your life, I realized that my garden had become a mess, that weeds, the weeds of grief were growing in there. And if your garden is full of weeds, there's no room to grow what you love. And then I went through a phase of wanting something different. I realized that this isn't how I want to live. And I think once you make that decision that I want something different, you start to look, you start to explore. And I realized that I couldn't change what had happened, but I could look at how I could respond to it in a more resourceful way. The next step was about being willing you know, willing to explore, willing to try things out, willing to invest the time, the money, the energy into looking for solutions. And then once I realized that actually there are tools and knowledge and things out there, then it was a process of weeding. That was really identifying the different things. See, grieving is a very normal and natural process, but the pain of grief comes when we wish that things had been different, or we'd said something or done something, or in terms of my mum, I suddenly had this urge to tell her I loved her just as she was about to go. But this logical side popped up and said, oh, don't make a fuss. She'll be back in 6 weeks. And so that was a source of pain for a long time. And in terms of the miscarriages, you know, while I was pregnant, I'd started to fantasize about, I knew I was going to have a baby girl. And I started to imagine, oh, you know, won't it be so nice to have another female in the house, because I've got 2 sons and my husband, I'm always outnumbered. So I had all these fantasies I was building up about how we'd go shopping and buy pink things. And so obviously the miscarriage meant that those hopes and dreams were lost. So it's those sorts of things that add to the pain of grief. And that once you're able to learn how to do that, recognizing the weeds and weeding them, then you're able to have that clear space in your garden to start creating what you really love. So after the weeding, I realized that it was about starting to wish, you know, what is it I want? Start to imagine what I want. And I knew that I wanted to be able to help other people. And so having that desire then guided me into exploring what the different options were of how I could equip myself to do that. After the wishing comes the working, you know, setting yourself the goals, making a plan, having milestones, holding yourself accountable, getting support. And that's where I'm at. I'm still in the process of creating my wonderland. So I realized that to go from wasteland to wonderland, there were these sort of really helpful stages to think about. And if you're, you know, listening to this, I would encourage you to think about, where are you? If you've taken time to assess what the state of your garden is, are there some weeds that you need to deal with in order to be more effective? And it's not just about weeding, because I realize that's a miserable life. If I spend my life just weeding, all that happens is I have lovely clear soil for more weeds to grow up in. So it's really important to take time and use your imagination to create a vision of what it is that you want. One thing that really helped me, and I would encourage people, if they haven't already done this, is that I had this sense that I had a purpose, but I was not very clear. So somebody on Clubhouse actually said, can I do an exercise? I said, yes, please. And in my imagination, he got to imagine that I was on the very last day on this earth. And he asked me to imagine, what do you see? You know, and I said, okay. So I went in my mind, I went ahead, and I just noticed lots and lots of people. And he said, well, what are they doing? I said, well, they seem to be smiling. It's like they've come to celebrate my life and to thank me for helping them, you know, sort of create that life that's well lived. And I suddenly, having caught sight of this vision, it really connected with an earlier time where I was thinking, what is my purpose? And the words that popped into my head was, it's about increasing love and decreasing fear. And I thought, okay, from where I am to get to there, it's not going to work, because in my mind, I was thinking, I'll help 1 or 2 people, I'll do my part-time job, and then when I retire, I'll help 1 or 2 people more. But after seeing that vision and becoming clear of my purpose, I resigned from my part-time job and I invested in some masterminds, which is where we met, so I could acquire the tools and the knowledge about business. I'm very, very familiar about grief and how to help people with that, but business, oh my God. So yeah, so that's, and then once you get hold of that vision, as you say, you can't just sit back, you have to actually then work at it, making the plans, getting the help.
Yeah.
In terms
I mean,
of
it is a step-by-step process, isn't it? And like, how many of you watching this now recognize that there might be some things in your life, whether it's a death of a loved one or a death of a pet, as I unfortunately went through recently, but also the death of a job, the death of a business, you know, things coming to an end, relationships coming to an end, the death of a marriage. There's lots of reasons why we grieve, but there's also that process that if you just stuff it down, in whatever way you stuff it down, whether that's to just ignore it and say, yeah, you know, boys don't cry or girls don't cry, or, you know, pull yourself together. In my mum's case, she used to say to me, you know, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry for. I don't know if anyone else received that one. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry for. Another one, like if I stubbed my toe or something, she'd say, oh, shut up, you got another one. Which was great when I stood on her foot once and she started yelping. I said, it's all right, you got another one. She didn't appreciate that. But when we stuff it down, either with alcohol or drugs or cigarettes or whatever it is you're stuffing it down with, it just creates so many other issues later on, doesn't it? It can definitely add to many of those things that we then get, you know, 30, 40 years down the line, and then we're processing it once we've gone, you know, we've lost those 40 years now, and you know, carrying that weight with us. Ghulam, just as we finish up, because I would love to spend more time with you, what would you say to our ripple makers? Is there a process, is there something you'd recommend as an activity that they can do to work through anything that they've been stuffing down?
Sure. So I would just say, I'll send you the link so you can post it. I have written a free guide called 5 Key Steps to Handling Grief, which gives you some tips and things. And I've also set up a free Facebook page where I post regularly. Well, I've just started posting regularly, different insights, and I can answer questions and so on. But the thing that I would really encourage people to do is to start taking care of yourself. As a ripple maker, the mistake I made for a long time was I was so busy focused on helping everybody else, saving everybody else, that I ignored my own needs. And I've come up with an acronym called SAFER. So I would encourage you to think about your senses and what you can do when you're feeling low that can lift you up. Think about the activities. Each person is individual, so think about how you can take responsibility for creating moments of joy. That's what's going to resource you. That's what's going to build you up. And it's really important to prioritize, plan, and then protect time for your self-care, because otherwise you're just rushing around, keeping busy, distracting yourself. And then that's what makes it hard to move forward. But I'm very happy to, if anybody's really struggling, I'm very happy for them to connect with me.
Oh, Ghulam, I love you so much. You just have this beautiful energy. Guys and girls, wouldn't you agree? Don't you have the most amazing energy? You don't have to go through these things alone. And especially when you're at that stage in your business where you are thinking about, well, hang on, I thought this was what my purpose was, but now I'm thinking it might be something bigger. It might be you know, I've got a bigger vision than I had before. Or when I think about my last day on this planet and what that scene might look like, you might be holding that vision that you have right now a little bit smaller than it could be. So isn't that interesting to step into that vision? And anything that is then holding you back, any grief that is holding you back, what a beautiful time to be able to recognize that. So Ghulam, thank you so much. I'll make sure I put your link in the Facebook group. Ghulam, if you want to go into the Facebook group and pop it into the comments for now, so that anybody that wants to go straight away and get that and not wait till the end, if you could pop it in there, that would be brilliant. Guys and girls, give it up for Ghulam. We have a lot of ripple makers who are part of the mastermind where you know, regularly things come up on the mastermind calls around things that are holding those ripple makers back. And one of the things that has been an overwhelming similarity between so many of them is around money. around money blocks, and there can be grief around money. It might not even be your grief that you're carrying around money, but those of you that do want to come join us, our amazing Lydia Birchall and Anya Berry, who's an amazing tapping expert. Lydia is an incredible confidence coach, and Lydia recommended that we read this book called Tapping into Wealth. And she mentioned it on one of the Ripple Makers mastermind calls, and I said I'd like to go through that. I mean, even though I've created this, I've still got blocks. I think, wow, what could I create? Even though I've done that, with all the blocks that I have, what would happen if I removed those limitations? What would happen if I moved towards my purpose without all of that shizzle, hanging around, lurking around? And so then some other Ripple Makers said, we want to go, we want to do it as well. And so we've opened it up. So if you do want to be part of, we've called it a book club for now. We started last Friday. The replay is already there. We're playing a money game as well. It's a lot of fun. We're buddying up Ripple Makers. So if you want to be a buddy with someone and go through the process rather than going through it on your own, then do please reach out and message me personally. Just message me. Sammy Blindell is my Facebook profile. Reach out personally and I'll send you the link so you can go and get signed up for that, and then join us on our next session, which happens on Friday. And if you can't be there for the live sessions, don't worry, because you'll have access to all the replays and you'll have your buddy to still go through the process with. But it's interesting what limitations are already coming up. We're on day 4 today, and already in the chat there's been an incredible realization about guilt around money, which is really, really interesting. So guys, if you do want to take part in that, let us know. All right, we are going to move on towards our next incredible global ripple maker. Stewart is a dear friend of mine. He's built my website. I've just appeared on his podcast. He's got an amazing company that ultimately gets you more visible, like anything to do with getting you more visible. How many of you are sat there saying to yourself, I want to do all of this, but I would just wish somebody could handle it for me? Give me a yes in the comments if that's you. Well, this incredible guy that I'm just about to introduce you to on stage is the one. He's the find, trust and choose guy, Mr. Stewart Alexander. He does all kinds of stuff, including web design, copywriting. He does podcast repurposing. So if you've got a podcast, he repurposes that. So you're not only using that information in one place, he can disseminate it across lots and lots of other different ways. He can distribute them. He does lead generation, book publishing. He's got all kinds of stuff that he does. So when you think about being visible, think about this guy. Let's get him onto the stage. Give it up. Give us a big round of applause. Big ripple making welcome to the amazing Stewart Alexander. Stewart.
Hey, hi, Sammy. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
Darling. Welcome to RippleFest.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a fantastic introduction. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well, we've known each other for a while now, but there's something that happened to you a few months ago that really gave you a kick in the pants. And now you're here to share what that is, because you shared it a little bit on your timeline, but ripple makers all over the world that are going through stuff behind the scenes and still putting that face on, there's still like face behind the smile, the swan gliding nicely and the legs going underneath. Stewart, please do share who you are and what you do, why you love doing it, and what happened to you recently that really gave you that kick in the pants.
Yeah, sure. Again, so my name's Stewart Andrew Alexander. I'm the find, trust and choose guy, and I'll come back to that in a little while I'm calling myself that. I work essentially with divorce attorneys, mediators, C-suite executives, help them to be visible online through all of those different platforms that Sammy's mentioned already. And the reason why I work with these people and what I get from that is it's kind of strange. My wife always laughs at me. For example, if we go out for a meal somewhere and we're being served by someone and they're doing their job really well, I get emotional about that. I absolutely love when you see somebody doing what they were born to do, their God-given gift. I absolutely love that. I really get emotional. I'll see a builder across the road working on the house, watch him work, and he's in his element, he's in his zone, and I just think it's the most beautiful thing. However, there are so, millions of people like that. We're all born with our God-given gift. And it may be a gift to, save somebody time, make them more healthier, make them happier. Dealing with grief, like Ghulam said, that's her God-given gift, right? So we all have this God-given gift. However, not all of us know how to put ourselves out there so that the people who can benefit from our God-given gift can find us easily, right? Can trust us, and then eventually choose us. So that's what I do. I help people to be found, to be trusted, and to be chosen by the people who need them the most at that specific time when they need them the most in their lives. And that gives me immense pleasure to work with entrepreneurs, change makers, ripple makers, transformationalists, call it what you will, to help them get outside of their, get away from the bedroom and to put them out there in front of the people who need them the most at the right time.
That's absolutely beautiful. I love that vision. And just very briefly, if you can sum it up in 60 seconds to 2 minutes, what happened to you recently that was the big kick in the pants? Because you were just going about life, doing your thing, and you've had a real shake up recently. Share with us what happened.
Right. So on the 9th of September was my 60th birthday. On the 7th of September, I woke up, went downstairs to the kitchen, and cut a long story short, I had a mini stroke. So my whole world just fell apart. I had headache and dizziness, and my whole body was just totally out of control. I was rushed into hospital, diagnosed with a mini stroke. Now that changed absolutely everything for me, because like you said, I was just going about my everyday life, not caring the world. But having that experience and knowing that my younger brother had died of a massive brain aneurysm a few years before, and as I was going through that experience and have experienced this sense of not having any control, and I was thinking, oh my God, this is it. That same thing's happening to me. And I was thinking, but no, it can't be. I've got so much more to do. I've got so many people left to help, and so many things to, there's so many unfinished things. So unfortunately, fast forward, I'm here today and I'm healthy. I'm still going through lots of tests to try and determine what actually went wrong. But it's just changed life completely. It's just made me so more laser focused on my path and what my purpose is, which is what I mentioned before, is helping people to be found, trusted, and chosen. So
and it's making it a priority, isn't it? Because your mission has now become so much bigger, because that we all have an expiry date. We don't know when that might be. But I think you, like me, when I was laid on the hospital bed in 2013, questioning, well, if I died here right now, wired up to this heart monitor, what have I actually left behind? And I think that was a big thing for you, wasn't it? What have I actually left behind? Now you've left a lot behind, but I think for you to ramp up your ripple as such, I've really seen you do that. You're like, right, how can I reach more people in less time and help other people to reach more people in less time? Because if we don't have the time, then we've got to make the impact, and we've got to make it quickly. So Stewart, what's your activity for us today?
Okay, so my activity ties on the back end of what you were saying. I've created something which enables people to use their voice, okay, to tell their story. And podcasting is nothing new for all of us. There's no need for me to preach to the choir. But I've created something called the Interview for Life. And it's an activity that I'd like us all to take part in. I'm not sure, how do I actually see the chat then, Sammy, so that I can put something in the chat and people can use it?
So, well, you can give it to me and I'll put it in the chat.
Give it to you. Perfect.
You would need to be in Facebook, but give it to me. Right. I'll run it while you do your shizzle.
I'll give it to you. So let me drop this in here, right? And all I need everybody to do at the top here, it says your industry, your target audience, what you help them with, and the biggest outcome. I just need them to fill those 4 pieces of intelligence out. So an example could be, for example, your industry, let's say it's the coaching industry or personal development. Your target audience, life coaches. What you help them with, let's say getting more clients, okay? And then the biggest outcome would be so they can live the life they love, as an example. So I'm going to pick from the comments that come in. I'm going to pick one person, and I'll help me do that because I can't see.
Yeah.
All right. And when they come in, let me just give a few more examples so that people can see.
So guys and girls, just while you get those examples, I have now copied and pasted that into the comments in the chat of the live into the Facebook group.
Right.
Answers on Zoom will not be counted. It must be in the Facebook comments. It must be in the Facebook comments to make it fair for everybody.
So there's just a few more examples
You're
that
going to have some fast fingers.
Right. So while you're looking at that, or while you're filling that out, what I want to share with you is the prize that I'm giving away today for people who take part. It's a media package, a media exposure package worth £900. I think Sammy said dollars earlier on, but it's actually it's pounds. Yes,
oh, wow.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's even more value. So what I'm going to do is, after creating your interview for life tonight, you're going to see it all live. What I'll do is I will interview the person who I choose. I will interview them on my show on the Business Innovators Radio Network. It's a massive network. You can just give you a quick look here at the homepage. You'll be published alongside people like Tim Ferriss, Dave Ramsey, Gillian Michaels, etc. So it's a great place. Are you
sharing your screen right now, Stuart? Because I can't see your screen. Is that what you mean?
Oh, yes, I am. I need to do that.
Just all of the notes just came through in one big lump, so I'm just separating them out for people to help them answer the questions. Right. So I'm just I've just copied and pasted some examples into the chat there for everybody. Right. So okay. Stuart, let me just give you permission to share your screen. I'm going to make you a co-host. There you go. Right, so you should be able to share your screen right now.
Right.
Keep an eye on the chat.
Screen share. Right, so once I pick a winner today and create the interview for life, I'm going to spend time with you after the call or the next coming days to interview you on my podcast on the Business Innovators Network. Okay, so that's one. The distribution is massive. The credibility that you will gain from that is invaluable. So that's one. Two, what I'm also then going to do is to write a premium media release and publish it on one of my publishing partners platforms, just as I've done here with this client here. It will announce the interview that you and I are going to record together. So that will be published on here, which will then allow it to be picked up and distributed to dozens and dozens of premium media release networks. As you can see here, there are actually dozens of them. So I think
there's over 200 actually, isn't there?
Yeah, there's quite a lot. And then what I will do is to use the questions that we're going to create tonight, the interview for life questions, to create a media kit for you.
Wow.
So that you'll be able to then use that to reach out to podcast hosts like myself and make their job very easy to say, yes, I want you as a guest. Okay, so you'll get this as a PDF document. It will have all of the questions. It will have the introduction. It will have your bio. You see the questions are here. If you have a book, we'll work with you to get that inside there as well to feature the book. We can put some hot topics that it makes it easy for the podcast host to work with you. And if you've got a gift that you want to give away on the podcast as well, we'll work with you to get that done. A link to your show will also be in there, or any other previous shows you've been on there. I'll put some screenshots of the media release that we're going to write for you in your media kit, and then some promo images so that the podcast host can download them and use them on their website to promote you. Okay, so all of that, you're going to get all of that tonight. That's the PDF version, and as well as the flipbook version. We go here. All right, so that's the online version of the media kit as well. So you're going to get all that. Like I said, it's about £900 worth of value. So all I need to do now, Sammy, is to pick one.
Oh my gosh. Well, if you want to
And
stop
then let's
sharing
make
your
one in
screen,
real time. Okay.
let's have a look. So we've got a whole bunch of people. I tell you what I think we'll do, Stuart, if it's all right with you.
Yeah.
And we'll give everybody until the end of this session. So there's another 15-20 minutes for the end of the session. And so, you know, you have to be live. You have to be in it to win it. If you're watching the replay, we will already have done the draw. But when we what I'll do is, as soon as I'm finished here, I will we'll put anybody that's responded and answered the questions, we'll put them into a draw, and we'll do an actual draw with their name in a hat. So guys and girls, make sure that you put your answer, go into the One Drop Movement Facebook group, go to the comments underneath this live stream in the Facebook group. We don't want it on Messenger, we don't want it in the Zoom chat, it has to be in that comment thread. Am I clear? Just by thumbs up backstage. Okay, guys and girls, if you can give me a thumbs up as the emoticons underneath the thing. All right, I can see that. Great. Okay, so we're all good. So you've got until we finish RippleFest, and we're going to go over a few minutes. But Stuart, that's amazing. What an incredible package for one of our ripple makers to walk away with and use that to be able to build their business. So thank you so much for giving that away.
You're so welcome. Anytime, Sammy.
Oh, bless you. Well, guys, how can they get hold of you, Stuart, if they want to connect with you, if they don't win it but they want to do this PR package? Is it something you do, or have you just thrown this together as a prize tonight?
I've put it together as a prize. I mean, it's something every client I deal with on the individual basis, so you know everyone's needs are going to be different. So I'll just put this together just specifically for the ripple makers. But if anybody needs to get hold of me, they can find me on findtrustandchoose.me. findtrustandchoose.me.
Is that an ampersand or is that a
no, that's AND.
Findtrustandchoose.me.
Yeah, that's the URL, and all of my contact details, everything is on there. Or you can reach out personally to me on Messenger as well, and then we can always take things from there. Well, I'd just like to add, Sam, is that everybody is actually a winner tonight, because I'm going to share the actual interview for life formula so that people can do it themselves. However, not everybody's going to get the package. There's only one person's going to get the package. Okay, right. So I just want to share that. So thank you.
Brilliant, amazing. Stuart, thank you so much. We are out of time for your session, so we're going to come on and bring out third and final ripple maker for this evening. Guys and girls, isn't Stuart awesome? I love the fact that he was already on a mission and now he's just like, I don't know how long I've got left on this planet, so I'm damn well going to help as many people as I can while I can. I mean, what a mission, guys. Thank you for answering in the comments. Remember, you've got another like 10-15 minutes to get your answers in. Make sure they are in the comments of the live stream in the One Drop Movement group. Okay, let's get our third and final amazing ripple maker onto the stage. She's the unforgettable events creator, Debbie Church. Debbie's a speaker, entrepreneur, and award-winning founder of Ikagai Create, building the world's most collaborative event management platform for business owners committed to growing their people, their profile, and their profits. Before I get the amazing Deborah onto the stage, I'm going to just share with you a little something that she sent for me to share before she comes on stage. So, guys,
it's actually Sammy.
Oh, hang on.
It's actually part of the activity at the end.
Oh, it's going to be part of the activity. All right, there you go. So, I thought we were introducing you on stage with it. All right, brilliant, even better. So, guys and girls, give it up for the amazing Deborah. Deborah, come on up.
Thank you, Sammy. Pleasure to be here. Thanks very much.
Oh, it's so good to have you here. And of course, I get to see you a lot backstage for our Ripple Maker Mastermind. And watching you grow your business is phenomenal. And I think you've only been a member for 2 weeks, and I've watched you just fly. Because you already know your stuff, so it's easy. It makes it easy for me to help with that messaging. So, Deborah, tell everybody about who you are and what you do.
I will. Well, in another life, Sammy, you would have probably found me as a character in A Silent Witness, because I was incredibly interested in forensic science. I wanted to be a forensic detective for some weird reason. But actually, or you will find me managing a hotel somewhere, because that's what I trained in, sort of hotel management. So, but I turned a different corner many years ago, about 30 years ago, and I made a leap into working in marketing in a big US corporation where I'd previously worked for an executive as an executive assistant for the CEO, and that involved all sorts of organizational, as you can appreciate. But I took the leap of faith and then got there and realized, oh my God, I just don't know what I'm doing. I just wanted to swallow the whole to open up and swallow me up. I just had such lack of confidence in my abilities. I'd probably been, sort of in a nice, safe environment, working as a CEO working for the CEO. But I just really lost my mojo immediately as soon as I started there, and felt that I can't do this. I really can't do this. So I wanted to go back to where I come from, the comfort of the executive floor with the beautiful, great big desks. And we even had tea ladies at that time that used to come round with a trolley, and I'd have Betty saying, "Oh, Debbie, it's our Debbie, she's come back." So I was just longing for that. But I knew it was absolutely ridiculous. So I tried to sort of overcome all that. And they very quickly gave me responsibility for delivering a couple of really huge, challenging events. And I'll say they were huge. It was because we'd actually just come through a period of time where a large event had been organised, which actually involved our sales team, and call it sort of an error of judgment by the sales management team. But it went disastrously wrong. And I can only tell you that it involved a lot of alcohol in the process. And we ended up on the front page of the Sun newspaper in a controversial story about our events. So there was a lot of pressure, and I thought, and one of the events I had to run was for 200 sales team to do the cross-selling exercise, and then also went on to do a sort of showliner which went around the UK. So those were two really big events, and great news is I pulled them off. And the one thing it made me realize is, actually, I'm bloody good at this. I know what I'm doing. I can do this. So it gave me a huge confidence boost, and I just went on to do bigger and greater things. But the main thing that I also got from that is actually the way that events make you feel when you manage an event is just, phenomenal. There's no other feeling like it, the variety. So I've always loved this, this industry. And I think the ultimate satisfaction for me since I've been working, when I set up my agency and have worked for clients, predominantly large corporate clients, but, across the range, and really help them to, for me to be in the behind the scenes and to actually see them taking the kudos and the glory for delivering an amazing event, and actually helping them, boost their career, boost their business, build their brand, and do all those things without any, without any stress. And so that's what made me realize that if I structure things right, with the advent of COVID last year or 2 years ago, it just gave me the time to sit back and think about what I do, and knowing that I can really help other people to do a lot better. So my aim and my vision is really to be working with business owners, entrepreneurs, speakers, to help them move into the world of events.
Yeah, and the world of events has changed significantly since before COVID, BC. It's changed significantly, and I mean, so many people are running events online now, but now that we're starting to come back into the world and people are starting to run more events, knowing how the events industry has changed, isn't it? And we've got a lot of ripple makers here who could be running their own events, their own workshops, their own circles, their own fill in the gap, and be doing it in a much easier way than a lot of people are doing it.
Yeah, I think the the importance of events is huge at this point in time. Certainly, I mean, and I keep mentioning the word events, and we should really, that means lots of different things to lots of different people. But and the way I always describe it is, an event is actually just a moment in time, and it's very much driven when all of the elements come together, the people, the mechanisms, the technology, the content all comes together in seamless harmony, and you can create that event. And that's, in my world, predominantly corporate and exhibitions, and exhibitions and trade shows, corporate conferences and meetings, exhibitions and trade shows. But what you find is that people they spend what I find a lot of clients do is they'll spend a lot of time actually agonizing over what type of event's right for them and their business, and they're missing out on opportunities by not having, not moving to that next level. They've nurtured their own virtual presence, which is obviously a form of event, but that area is getting really saturated. It's absolutely saturated with you're not getting the share of the voice in the same way. Certainly not saying stop doing virtual events. Virtual events are part of that integrated program, but making sure that their voice is heard. Live events is the next logical step for them, and doing that in the right way so that they can focus on what they're really experts at, and focus on their content and their presence, and showing up and being in the room, and making sure that their reputation is amplified, their brand is amplified. Through a live event is probably the most powerful way to do it, but you've got to get it right.
Yeah, you do have to get it right. Oh my gosh, I wish I'd known you all those years ago when we first started running events. Boy, did we learn a lot the hard way. But because you've got this online platform, you're able to support entrepreneurs at whatever stage they're at, where they're like, I need to do this myself, or I want someone to do this with me and hold my hand, or Deborah, just take this off me, just like get this done for me. And so I love that you've got literally at every stage you can support someone with where they're at. So Deborah, in the time that we have left, we've got we'll go over by a few minutes.
Okay.
For those of you that want to stay, obviously, if you've got a hard finish and you need to go at 8, you can always come back and watch the replay bit to this bit. But I do hope that you can all stay. So Deborah, how can we be running profitable events? And guys, you're going to want to stay for that, surely. So how can we be doing this?
Okay, well, I mean, from the point of view, you mentioned the event platform. So my vision is really to build this, the world's biggest collaborative event management platform that's really going to help business owners grow their profile, grow their people, and grow their profits. And that is really working with an online technology, with you teaching you how to deliver events. And as Sammy said, that would be, doing it yourself, but just getting access to all of the resources and training, or working with me, and giving you access to lots of tools and technologies that help you deliver a perfect event. Or we can obviously run the whole shebang for you and do it from start to finish. So that's where I'm at, and that's going to be all going live, within the next month or so, and then we'll be ready to start talking. And in the meantime, what I wanted to do was actually offer for people, if they wanted to have some sort of 30-minute clarity call with me, please connect with me on Facebook or on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, and just let me know, and we can have a 30-minute clarity call just to see where you are now and how we could help move you forward to where you want to be. So
that's amazing, Deborah. Well, let's get stuck into our activity. What have we got? What are you doing? Let me know when you want me to play the video.
Yes, I will. I'll tell you when.
Ready to press the button.
Okay. Well, just to kick it off, what I was going to say is I always live by the mantra that people may forget what you say or what you do, but they are never going to forget the way you make them feel. And so running an event is, such an important part to bring in that positive emotional connection and the feelings that you get. And starting at the end point is talking about what's the vision of your audience, what do your audience want to gain from that, and then so the opportunity to bring your brand to life within a live environment is huge, because it's not just about the tangible things, but it's also all the intangible things, the feelings and the people and the way they feel and the way they all the senses that they're using. So it's a bit like sort of baking a cake, you know, obviously the ingredients are important and it's all incredibly, you know, it's how you cook it, but it's also the smells and the timing and everything else. So what I wanted to do was just show you a show reel. And while the show reel is running, if you can just put into the comments all the things that you see that could either amplify your brand, be a positive impact on your brand, or maybe things that you think are missing, or maybe things that you think could damage your brand if you get it wrong. And so just things like, just as an example, you know, it might just be graphics or directional signage, but that just know all the emotional connections as well that you can find within this particular event. Well, it's a show reel of all a mixture of events. So you can hit play and then people could put that in the comments. That would be great.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So let me get this. Get your shizzle and your sizzle, your shizzle sizzle.
It's 1 minute long.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get this going. Awesome. All right. How many things did you look at and just went, shit, I haven't got that. I haven't got that. I haven't got that. Oh, whoops. I haven't got that either. Heading into the oh fuck zone there, Deborah.
Yeah. I think it just highlights the many opportunities there are. You know, obviously not everybody does everything, but it just highlights all the opportunities that you can do to really sort of, you know, shout out who you are and what you do.
So what do we need to do with this? What's our activity? What homework have we got?
Well, it was really just to sort of highlight all the different things within that video, or just within their understanding of the type of event they might want to hold. You know, what's important to them in terms of getting that messaging across. What emotion do they want to convey to their audience? What emotions do they think that the audience are actually going to take away with them? What feelings? So it's really just looking at the whole feeling and emotional part of an event, and just coming up with ideas, if you like.
I love that. So create your vision for your event. Guys and girls that have been through Ripple Maker Live or the 7-Step Brand Kickstarter, you know about creating a vision. So imagine if you had an event that could position you, your products, your services, or your program. Maybe you've got a membership, maybe you've got a subscription. I know there are a whole bunch of Ripple Makers right now that are they're publishing card decks and journals, and imagine if you use that as just like a book launch. Your card deck is like a book launch. Imagine if you had a little event around that, and the publicity and the exposure you could get. So looking at that video you just saw, would you have somebody there playing music? Are you gonna have people greeted with champagne or something fizzy as they walk in? You know, what experience do you want them to have? What feelings do you want them to have? It's really interesting that you've asked this question, Deborah, because literally this morning in the Ripple Makers Mastermind, I took everybody through a visualization on what they want their clients to feel when people come into contact with their brand. It's actually going out as a blog tomorrow. So guys and girls, if you follow the Brand Advice Center, you'll be receiving that blog tomorrow with a link to the meditation. But Deborah, I think what's really important is, like this morning, we were looking at how do you want people to feel when they come into contact with your brand. Now we can go one further and say, how do you want them to feel when they come to your event?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether online or offline.
Yes. Yeah.
Brilliant. Amazing. Well, Deborah gave the link to connect up with her. Deborah, if you could also share that again into the comments, that would be great. If you go into the Facebook group, guys and girls, give it up for Deborah. Deborah, thank you. Thank you. Guys and girls, we've come to the end of our time. Thank you so much to those of you that have stayed behind that little bit extra time with us. I'm going to go with Stewart. We're going to go on right now. We're going to look at how many of you have shared your answers to the full thing, not just the vision. You need to have answered all of the questions that he's given you there. So we're going to go and look at who's given us the full answers, and we're going to put you into a hat and we will do a draw. So look out for that in the One Drop Movement group. We'll do that very shortly. But for now, I just want to end by sharing what we've got coming up tomorrow. So this is day one of RippleFest complete, guys. Give it up for our amazing speakers, the gorgeous speakers that we've had tonight. We had the lovely Ghulam, who came and shared how you can really explore turning your pain into something that's purposeful. Remember, when you're building a brand, you are usually, not all the time, but in most cases, for each of you that are here, you are your dream customer, but you're the customer after you solve the problem. You got to go back to who were you when you had that problem. And so really going back to that treasure. Maybe there's some grief that you've experienced in your life that you haven't been sharing, and yet that would be the thing that your clients just go, oh my God, now I resonate with you, now I have rapport with you. So we had the amazing Ghulam, that's followed by the incredible Stewart Alexander. My goodness, what an amazing story, and just the best example of a ripple maker. In fact, all of our speakers are tonight. And then the lovely Debbie Church, how to create that wow event, that unforgettable experience that means that people will remember what you said, they'll also remember what you did, and they'll remember how you made them feel. I hope you've had a wonderful time. Give it up for all of our speakers. Give us a hashtag drum roll. Give them a drum roll as we finish up tonight. So tomorrow we're going to be live with the infinite potentiality coach, Miss Melinda Malarkey. Melinda Malarkey. See, let's Mulcahy. I've been practicing your name all day. I'm just going to call you Melinda Malarkey because I think you're fun. So we're going to be diving in with Melinda on how to find your purpose through creative curiosity. We're going to follow with hypnotherapist and international speaker, Mr. Gary Coles. What I love about Gary, we were speaking on the same stage a few weeks ago. What I love about Gary is he is using hypnosis to support cancer patients that have had a diagnosis, and so he helps the patient and he helps the family. And this guy has gone right down an amazing track, working with hospitals, working with doctors who are experimenting with hypnosis in a way that doctors and hospitals haven't been really allowing that until now. So Gary has really been driving the way for hypnotherapy and cancer. So we're going to hear more from him tomorrow. He's going to talk about how to give your way to prosperity. And then we follow that with the conscious practice guide, Miss Catherine Jones, on finding your purpose within. So come back, see you same time, same place tomorrow. Please do share this with your friends, the people that you're seeing going out there making some great ripples. But imagine if they didn't have to do that on their own. Invite them to come and join us at One Drop Movement so they can make their one drop and their ripple of impact in a bigger way. Guys and girls, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you tomorrow for session number 2. Take care. Bye for now.